Hi, Gina. Can I just get someone to confirm that you can hear me and maybe someone to exercise their voice so I can confirm I can hear you?
Hello, hello.
Thanks, Robin.
And Allison, I wanted to let you know we have a new, well, soon to be new commission member. So Tammy Cockrum will
Oh,
hopefully is being nominated by Counselor Smith, but won't be able to be ratified until September.
okay. Thanks for that. Hi, Tammy.
Hello.
Thanks for joining.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Gina, does this reflect who all had RSVP'd for the meeting?
Yes, it does.
So we can go
I
ahead.
I never heard from Jamie.
Okay. Well, we're good to go though, right? We've got
Mhm.
quorum. Okay.
Yes.
So oh, a little rusty here. So I'm doing we need to do roll call, or are you gonna do that, Gina?
Yes, I'll go ahead and do roll call.
Cool.
And so when I call your name, you just say here. Allison Dean,
Here.
Heidi Schulte.
Here.
All right. Alyssa Neidecker,
Here.
Robin Davis,
Here.
Jamie Jones, okay, so that's it.
Awesome. Yeah, any business from the public? So no. All right. Next up, approval of the May 28th meeting, meeting minutes. Does anyone make a motion to approve those minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the May meeting minutes for the HRC.
Thank you. Can I get somebody to second that?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye. Or
Aye.
thumbs up. Edie, can you confirm for us?
Yes.
You approve?
Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you. So we have a few different bits of business, some things that we didn't get a chance to talk about because we weren't able to meet in July. And so I know one thing that I asked Gina to put on here was around river rhythms and summer sounds recommendations. So if folks are unaware, I guess I should ask before going into recapping everything, is anyone on this call unaware of the July 4th issues at River Rhythms? Anyone unaware? Okay, I just wanted to check because most of that coverage has been done in the Democrat Herald. That's behind a firewall, so I don't want to assume people have access to that information. So with that, we know that there were comments made by the performer that that some communities that we represent felt were targeting their communities, and that there was a proclamation of a particular group of people who were going to kill folks, right? So this is at a family-friendly event. There has been testimony at a few different city council meetings about this, and some suggestions that the city council has made. But I felt like we had an opportunity as a Human Relations Commission to say, what is it that we want to do from our perspective in terms of when we have our joint meeting, or even before we have our joint meeting from city council, or with city council rather. So I wanted to just open for conversation for folks to say, you know, are there some things that you're thinking about in terms of what the HRC can recommend, you know, since this is something that very closely relates to the type of work that we're trying to do as a commission.
Has anyone explored whether the statement made by the performing individual constituted a crime? Or in law?
I can chime in on that. So when we checked with legal counsel, there was nothing in there that wasn't covered under freedom of speech.
Okay, thank you.
I guess I should reframe and just ask if folks feel like we as the HRC should be putting forth some recommendations about this programming and how to kind of mitigate this kind of damage in the future.
In the contract that we have with those performers, does it say anything about here's the deal, here's what we expect? Is that something that we have made clear to them in the first place? So we could say contractually, you haven't done what we've asked?
Sure. So we have for the last at least probably 10, 15 years. I don't know what contracts look like when River Rhythm started. I'm sure it was very different. But we have a statement in there that our performances are family friendly, but it doesn't necessarily go into details with that. At one of the city council meetings after we received public testimony, there was a recommendation from a few of the council members that maybe we should include in the future moving forward, like a code of conduct or expectations. And so that's something that I'm looking at and taking a view of what some of our other code of conducts are, like in our facilities that we have with patrons, and figuring out how to adapt that to potentially get added into additional contracts, not just necessarily potentially those for performers, but if we have instructors and other areas, as family friendly has a different definition, and maybe we need to be a little bit more exact into what our expectations are. But I should provide a caveat with that, is that even with legal counsel, we've discussed this a little bit more as there's case law. This is something happening across the country, within government agencies, that it's not necessarily something that even if they were to say something, we would be able to go back and say, we are going to sue you and recoup for costs. So I still think it's valuable as it sets expectations. And there is that element as family friendly was not enough.
Well, and it's debatable whether it's family friendly to tell someone that people are going to come and kill you, right?
And to be the devil's advocate, for some folks, that is family friendly, as that is a perception, and that wouldn't bother them. So
I understand that. I mean, there's also a rating system that has been developed nationally that I think would contest that notion, right? So we could say that all day about ideologies that people hold, and also like what are some of the systems that are in place that we can call on that can help us, like that we can use as a scale for whether or not something actually does fit in as family friendly. Robin, I apologize. You were about to say something.
All right. No, I was just wondering if there is a code of conduct, if we could ask, like Kim was saying, performers, but any contractors who address the public, teachers, and there to adhere to the state's guidelines for for lack of a better word, diversity, equity, inclusion, right? Which basically says there shouldn't be hate speech, there shouldn't be discriminatory speech, there shouldn't be any of that sort of thing associated. If you wouldn't allow it from a public school teacher, you probably shouldn't allow it from anyone who addresses the public at all. So if there was some, and keep in mind, right, how legally defendable would that be? But I think it would still send a message that the city expects this from the folks who, come here and make money from their association with the city. That would be good. So I would be in favor of having that sort of thing in place.
So one, I was going back to an HRC meeting that we had last June or July, perhaps, when there were questions from the Hispanic Advisory Council around the city's support of Festival Latino, and how to kind of engage the city in supporting, and we had discussed during that meeting, I think it was actually the May meeting of last year, we had discussed how might we kind of find a way to do some dovetailing between the programming the city already has in place and some of the goals of the HAC, Hispanic Advisory Council, or the HAC, in putting on the Festival Latino. And during that meeting, we had discussed that there might be an opportunity for some, dovetailing with summer sounds or river rhythms. And Kim, I know you've done outreach to the HAC, asking for applicants to the Summer Sounds series. But River Rhythms is really like, it's the much larger signature event that happens here in Albany, right? And so during that meeting, I think that there was the suggestion, how can we maybe get people from the HAC, to be involved in that selection process? And I know that's probably not very feasible. But one of the things that I think we want to consider as a commission, and one thing that was actually brought up by City Council in one of their meetings in July, was around calling the HRC to be a part of that process, right? And so I wanted to bring this up for discussion, to see how we all felt about this. Thinking about, there are a few different ways that I see that the HRC could get involved here, if it's feasible from the contractual limitations that Parks and Rec has. So one thing that I thought of is that for future river rhythms and summer sounds planning, Parks and Rec could include a representative from the HRC, as well as the Arts Commission. It makes sense for them to have a representative there, in reviewing potential performers and encouraging more diverse representation. We, as people who have been appointed to represent our communities, can then work to solicit some feedback from our constituents in our early vetting process, knowing, Kim, for our discussion, that there's a point at which, because of contracts and promotion restrictions, that there's a limitation on who can be involved and who can know about what performers are being considered. So that is a thought that I have. I wanted to see how folks feel about that. So representation from HRC and the Arts Commission in some of that early decision making.
I know that's something that I would be on board for. I do think that, when I heard that it was suggested that the HRC play a role, I thought, like, this is kind of a great opportunity for the HRC to provide those recommendations and to help, make Albany feel more comfortable and more diverse for different groups. And so it's something that I would be in full support of.
Other folks?
Would we, just a backup thought, would we have known anything about what this guy was going to say in advance? It seems more to me like he was selected, he was a generic vintage-ish, country-ish kind of a person. He kind of fit the mold. It doesn't seem to me like we thought when we selected him, he was going to have this strange agenda and do these odd things.
I can help address some of that. So when we selected and put out some feelers, we were looking for something that was uniquely Americana and tied to the 4th of July. God Bless the USA was turning 40 on the same year that River Rhythms was turning 40 on the 4th of July. And while there is an acknowledgement that the performer does belong to a certain political party, when we did the initial offering and the initial booking, there wasn't an immediate tie, an agenda with a political campaign. And at that point, there was some additional vetting and trying to determine if there was safety issues and if there was anything that was going to be inappropriate. Our staff, we listened to radio interviews, we watched clips from recent concerts, as we were just kind of trying to get a sense of what we were getting ourselves into. And the performer is very much a salesman. And so when opportunities came up about some of the things that he was partnering with, he acknowledged, go on my website, go ahead and purchase those, and then kind of swiftly moved on. So to be very honest, we were not anticipating the performer to be an issue. It surprised us just as much as anybody else.
May I ask, did part of the vetting process include looking at the individual's or his team's social media posts?
We went through, I'm trying to think, we looked at some social media, but it's something that sorry, I'm trying to think how to how to say how to probably not as much. But in going back and looking through other documentation, as well as their tour history, our booking agent had a history with them. There wasn't a, we've had folks in the past that have similar, if you do some dives, connections to one party or another. And we don't want to make it so that just if you come out and say that you're a part of a political party, that doesn't mean you're a performer. So
I'm just wondering if there was anything similar from even a joking standpoint or a hate speech standpoint that came out from the guys, from the performers' social media posts, because that seems to be where they are the less filtered sort of standpoint.
It has very much been a unique journey. And I say journey as the most kind version of what, you know, the last couple months has unfolded to be.
Kim, I wonder if you're able to just to help better inform what we as a commission might be able to do in having this be like a learning opportunity moving forward positively. Can you share with us what maybe what revisions or what additional considerations beyond an update to contract language Parks and Rec has in mind for the future?
Sure. So, you know, just talking more explicitly about a code of conduct, we'll potentially do even more extensive deep diving into social media. But once again, knowing that people are individuals and that even despite our best efforts, we don't control what comes out of somebody's mouth at any particular given point. We also, you know, it's so funny as no matter where we are, people will be like, hey, you know who you should get for next year? And typically they're artists that I would absolutely love, but that are so beyond fathom that we cannot even begin to describe it. But nevertheless, I have my running list. And that's just, you know, on my phone. And I know that Lynn has it and other staff have it. And so maybe we be more intentional with that. And maybe reaching out specifically to HRC, to the Parks Rec and Tree Commission, to our foundation, to, you know, sponsors always give us who they think would be fun. And say, no, like, let us know, are there groups that you think would be a good fit for this lineup? Just because we try to have a well-rounded mix. I chatted with Allison and some members from the HAC and, you know, let them know that we did put out an offer for a group that, you know, was Tex-Mex and that would be speaking Spanish on stage, and that we went after them, but just with touring and their dates, it didn't end up working out. But we don't always know all of the groups. And so let us know. I think that is certainly something that is just very, very easy to figure out. And it, in all honesty, could be a learning opportunity for all of us. A, it'll give us more talent to look at, and B, it'll help us figure out, are those talent, are those, you know, who else is in our or not in our budget? So, because it's really shocking. It is something. So, So I think that can definitely be considered. And to tell you the truth, it has just been a whirlwind of this summer with all of the concerts and promotions and everything. So we're all just kind of trying to keep our head above water, in all honesty, to get through the summer with all the programs and events and facilities running. And now that we get to the fall, it'll be time to take a step back, another deep breath, and start to figure out how we can retool for making improvements for the next year.
Great. Well, thanks, Kim. Oh, go ahead. Sorry. Heidi.
That's okay. I was going to say the Visitors Association also has some great terminology about what a welcoming community Albany is that they send out when they're looking to advertise Albany to the rest of the world, basically. Maybe we look into including some of that with the information we give to performers to say, here's what you're coming to. This is what our community is all about.
I love that suggestion. So
I can find that info and send it to you.
So in terms of what we as the HRC might want to recommend, a couple of things I captured, a code, kind of reinforcing that code of conduct and expectations of performers. Maybe that's a place where we can partner a little bit, Kim. I think it's an opportunity to do some of that that bridge building between Parks and Rec and the HRC, and then the communities we represent. Having some representation of an HRC member and an Arts Commission member in whatever part of the decision-making process or early vetting process is possible. And then I have a suggestion that I know, and this is, I think that this is like really effective for post-event anything, right? Is to have the ability for attendees to answer some kind of survey regarding the event. Not only does that give you a sense of what the experience has been for folks, but it's also really good for future planning, and so I think that there's an opportunity there to also give people, give the public a voice about what it is that they want, or some of the experience that they're having. Not that your staff necessarily wants to go through like, hundreds of surveys that may be less than kind to you all, but I do think it's an opportunity to say, actually, we really do care about the public feedback loop, and here's how we're going to try to show that. And while we're not addressing comments individually, we are able to take that information and make better informed decisions about what it is that we do as a department and how we think about producing the programming that we do. So I'm happy to like draft something that we might be able to send along to City Council. Kim, I think you or Gina, I can't remember, one of you said that there are changes about how things can be done in terms of like the writing
committees
that goes to City Council. Yeah, can you explain that for us?
Sure. So and bear with us, as Gabe is the expert and he is working on a training for all of us. So there's been some change in the ORS, or which outlines how we can and cannot do things as a government organ.
The revised statutes.
Thank you. Thank you. And so subcommittees are starting to become one of those gray areas where they are putting forth things that can have action come from them. And so they're having to be more and more like public noticed. So it's not, just 2 people or 3 people getting together at the coffee house anymore, being able to draft stuff up and bring it to the commission. It has to be a more formal process. And so I would say from chatting with Gabe, it sounds like the most effective thing to potentially do is to have one person maybe draft it and then bring it to the group at our next meeting, and just know that we're going to take a work set, like it's going to be a work session provided in the agenda ahead ahead of time so that people have an opportunity to come and, with questions or wordsmithing. And that it seems to be the cleanest way to do it. Unless we do want to do another, opportunity where certain folks want to get together and we pick a date and we public notice it and all that stuff. But if we're not trying to add an additional date, then I think using our next HRC meeting would probably be the most effective.
Great. So Kim, if there are a couple of us who are like, yep, we want to draft something, we let you know when we're available and you're able to put out the public notice. We do not have to have a quorum, correct?
No quorum.
Okay.
And
We
Gina
just
will,
have to,
Gina will know better than I will as to how far in advance we would need to notice something like that.
So we could share a Google Doc and like collaboratively draft on a document without, right? As long as there was not more than 2 of us or 3 of us on a document. Is that right?
I think if 2 or 3 people are going to be working on it collectively, let's go ahead and get a meeting on the schedule, even
Okay.
just for those 2 or 3 people to do it.
Gotcha.
And I'd have to look up how much notice we would have to give. I don't have that information readily available, but I'll search for it while the meeting's going on.
thanks, Gina.
Yes.
Well, yeah, because I guess maybe part of it is, and Kim, you have the update about the joint meeting with City Council, but I want to make sure that we have something that we can bring to them, ideally in advance of that, or like to that actual meeting. Because I know also, and maybe you can fill us in a little bit, like y'all are probably getting ready to enter into the next round for next summer. Yeah.
So I'll use that as a segue into joint
All
meeting with
right.
City Council. So well done, Allison. All right. So joint meeting with City Council. So it was postponed. And then the election filing period ended. And so every 2 years we have 3 council members that are up for, possible renewal, as well as the mayor. And so out of the 3 council members that are going up, whose terms are expiring, only one is interested in re-upping that. The other 2 are stepping back. And then the
Who are
mayor,
those?
Marilyn Smith is going to be running again for Ward 3. And then Matilda Novak, Ward 1, is not running again, and Ray Kopczynski, Ward 2, is not. So that doesn't change anything with you all if you're appointed by those members. But it does mean that the makeup potentially of our city council could be very different. And so I think there's some consideration as to, let's not do a joint meeting until we know who the new council members are, because it's very possible you could have a joint meeting, make some decisions, and then 2 or 3 new people come on board and they have a different opinion. So the new joint date has not been selected yet. Council's on a 6-week hiatus, which we won't be back for our next meeting until the end of September. So even if we meet at our September meeting to do wordsmithing and creating what those recommendations are, I think that's totally fine. I think it'll fit in well with the schedule of things. I don't think we'll be behind the 8 ball. We don't start thinking about we start thinking about it. We don't start putting out any soft feelers really until like December and November. We start getting lists of people who potentially are going to be on tour and in our budget. But a lot of times we might find one from that list that we're like, ooh, this one could be a possible. And the other ones we're like, you know what? Well, we just need to wait, find some more. So, so I think the timing of it. Oh, say it again.
So I want to make sure that I understand. So they can have a meeting and not have a quorum?
I believe it's well, from what I understand, if it's just like a subcommittee meeting, yes.
Maybe I misunderstood, Gabe, but I was thinking whenever the commission, like, that's a big no-no to, even you know, like if we could not conduct this meeting right now if there wasn't a quorum.
So I guess what all this means is we need a little bit more clarification on the changes to the ORS and what that looks like. So Gina and
and I don't mean to, because I mean, you know, I've been doing this forever, but I still don't always understand the ins and outs, and I might have it totally wrong, but my gut is telling me that
we need quorum.
we need a quorum.
We will figure that out, and we will have Gabe draft something, hopefully, and speak that all of us can understand, because I don't get it either. So sorry about that, and thank you for your patience.
Yeah, if you all are able to find that out and let us all know. What I don't want this to do is to stop momentum, right? So once we know what direction, Gina, I'm just gonna say you're probably gonna like have to filter emails, right? Because we'll want to be able to have an action plan and know how we're going to move forward so that we can come to the September meeting and have something ready to discuss. So thank you both in advance because you're doing the sleuthery that we need. So any other updates around that, Kim, with the joint meeting? No.
No, I'll keep you posted as I kind of get a sense of maybe where they're going. It's possible it could be done before the end of the year, but I get the sense that it might be a January, February thing.
Okay.
Okay, so I texted Mary Dibble and she said, I said, how much advance notice for public meeting? And she said 24 hours generally. They need, but you know, that doesn't guarantee we'd have a room or, you know, that's just that we need at least that much notice. And like Gabe had said, there's emergency situations, but like Mary said, that would have to be like a natural disaster or something for it to be an emergency.
Well, I think that we could figure it out so that we have, you know, we give enough time if we need to do that so that a couple of us can draft something. So with that, I want to ask if I'm happy to go ahead and draft something, but I would love to do this collaboratively if other folks are interested in doing so, and we can do it under the quorum. I guess at that point it doesn't really matter if we have to make it a public meeting anyway. But is anyone else interested in joining me or in drafting something?
Would it be okay for us to send thoughts either to one another or say, here, we've got some thoughts, Kim, we're sending you some information that's language we like? Could that happen individually? So then whenever we do get a chance to get together, we have some starting points?
I think it's better that you prepare something ahead of time and bring it to a meeting, but when we start making discussions over email, I mean, I guess you could send it to either Kim or I, and you're not sending it to each other. But I think when I had a conversation with Gabe, it's just better if you prepare ahead of the meeting, bring it to the meeting, present it at the meeting, and then as a commission, you say, yeah, I like that, or I don't like that, or the very best thing is just to conduct the business in the meeting, bring your stuff, prepare ahead of time, bring it, and then discuss it in the meeting is the very best way. I guess the subcommittee is very limited on what you do, and it's not where like you're making decisions. It sounded like there's time when Gabe was talking, like there's times you could do that, but he's saying it's just better to do it in a meeting, a regular meeting, and you could schedule another meeting. You know, if it's too long to wait till next month.
I do think
If
that
we
you could.
sketch,
Oh, sorry.
if we schedule another meeting though, Gina, we still have to have quorum, correct?
Yes, I mean, what I was understanding, but I could be wrong, and I can talk to Gabe and get that information back out to you. And
If you're able to just outline kind of, outline how we can do this,
yeah,
I think that would just be super helpful. I will say that I've already drafted some language, so if it's going to be a real challenge for us to do this more collaboratively in the initial pass, I will just submit this language for our next agenda. But if you're able to find that information out and let us know, it'd be something better if it was drafted by a couple of us than just me.
and Mary did clarify that as the policy, we like more than 24 hours. It just makes it really hard to get that public notice out there, and so usually they need several days. I guess there isn't a set time, but it just, the more days we have ahead is better. But legally, all we need is 24 hours.
All right, well, we'll look forward to hearing from you a little bit more,
Okay.
the specifics from Gabe, and then we'll move forward once we know how we're able to do so within the confines of the ORS. All right, so next on the agenda is HAC and NAACP representatives. So I can speak to the HAC to a degree, and I don't know if anyone was able to attend or reach out to NAACP. But one thing that Gina had sent out to folks, something on my behalf, but was on the HAC's behalf, September 8th, a week from this coming Sunday, is Festival Latino. They are moving forward and having this at Timberland Park. And it is 12 to 4, free, open to anyone, a family-friendly event. A community resource fair, food, entertainment. And so I want to strongly encourage people to come out to it. Heidi and I have signed up to staff the welcome booth, which is something that HRC members have historically done, according to Anna from the HAC. If anyone else would like to be involved in helping to staff the welcome booth, can you please let me know, and I will put you in touch with Anna, who is helping to do the coordination of this. So really gonna stress, let your people know, turn out. It's important to show up as an HRC member at this event, if only for half an hour, right? Jamie, I don't know if you were on going to NAACP meeting. I thought you were signed up, but I don't recall. No, that face is telling
I
me
don't
no.
think so.
Okay. All right. So from our May meeting notes, we have some upcoming NAACP and HAC meetings that I think it would be really important for our commission to make sure that we have a representative attending those meetings. So upcoming on September 12th, the NAACP at 6:30. This is on page 5 of the agenda that Gina sent out. September 24th is a HAC meeting at 3. Both of these groups have attempted to they are doing a lot more in person, but they've attempted to make a virtual option available for people to attend. So I'm wondering if, in looking at this, we have anyone who can sign up to attend any of these listed meetings for the September, October, and November dates listed on this calendar. Again, this is on page.
could, the NAACP 6:30, that's on a Thursday, right? The
Yep.
12th?
Mhm.
Thursday the 12th. And did they make that as an online option, or is that only in person?
They have been having online options, but Robin, I will check to see if that's the case for this upcoming one.
Okay. Um, yeah. I'm just going to say, go ahead and say I can do it.
Okay. Is what about other dates? I guess in the interest of time, Gina, I'm wondering, Gina or Kim, are you able to send this out? I know you sent it out before, Kim, but if you can send it again. And I will find out information, Robin, about the September 12th one, if there's a virtual option for attendance.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. And let's see. Potential event involvement. There we go. Kind of said two birds with one seed with that one. Business from the members. Any other business? No other business from members. It looks like it's staff updates time.
You should have received an email from Gina about an appreciation event for all of our citizen advisory groups. So I encourage you to attend. It's the first time one of these has been done, and it's a lovely way to be able to see your other citizen advisory group members, talk about collaboration, get some good food, and Jacopetti's desserts are delicious. So, I mean, really, there's nothing better than that. So hopefully we'll be able to see some of you all out there, and let us know if you have any questions.
Awesome. Thanks, Kim. All right. With that, our next meeting is on Tuesday, September 24th. I will let you all know that I am unable to attend that meeting. So Robin, I will work with you to make sure that you have that I get the language in whatever way we end up getting this done, that the language goes into the agenda and anything else that I need to pass along. But just wanted to let folks know that in advance.
I am able to attend that meeting, so that's good.
Thank you. Awesome vice chairing. With that, thank you everyone. And I think we will adjourn. I need to make an motion to adjourn, correct, Gina?
And not a
Yeah.
motion, you just
No.
say you're adjourning the meeting.
And now we shall adjourn. Welcome, Tammy. I hope we get to work with you. Good to see everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, y'all.